everyone. Happy Easter to those who are celebrating today. My name is Codd Sinclair. With me, Jeff the Hitman Hall. Another episode of the Ref Bump. Today is a special episode. We are in the midst of WrestleMania season, so we are talking about WrestleMania 20, taking place March 14th, 2004. So we're talking 17 years ago, and this is from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Before watching this, Jeff, what did you remember the most about this show?
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. For whatever reason, I was just drawing a blank on this show. I really couldn't remember anything. I knew Triple H, and I knew Jericho was wrestling. Cage, Lord have mercy, Christian. But really, this was interesting. Not interesting, but this was a really good show for me because I was really going down memory lane. I think a lot of these WrestleManias are right around this, I would say probably from 2000, 2005 or 6, weren't necessarily the same show, but just a lot of the same top guys. So I think you tend to get them jumbled and, with this matches on this show, so on and so forth. But yeah, this was a really good show.
Yeah. Before I watched it, there were a couple things that I immediately remembered. One was the Goldberg and Brock Lesnar match. We'll get into that later. And then the embrace at the end between Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. We'll also get to that. But I totally forgot. This was like this was the first WrestleMania of like a lot of new top guys. Because last year at 19, you had Brock Lesnar go over Kurt Angle. The Rock and Stone Cold had their match. We come into this show and those big names, Rock, Austin, Hogan, missing from this show. And while it forced WWE's hand, I guess you could say, I think ultimately it pays off for them. But I'm ready to get into this. This was a fun show for me.
And just to piggyback off of that's what I was saying. Like the Benoit, like I knew all that stuff. I just was like watching this. I was like, man, that was a year off or a WrestleMania off. You know what I'm saying? I just couldn't put what happened when without looking it up, of course. But good show.
Oh yeah. Opening contest, it is the Big Show defending the United States Championship against John Cena. This was John Cena's very first WrestleMania match. Obviously, he is pretty much at the height of his thug life, his rapping gimmick.
So just wrap your mind around this. The year is 2004, and John Cena is opening WrestleMania. And not only is he opening WrestleMania, but he comes out there and his music hits, and boy, he gets a pop like nobody's business.
Yeah, it's so strange.
This isn't Bizarro World. This is 2004, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's a next year's WrestleMania where he goes over JBL.
Yeah.
And that was his first world title run. So you look at kind of growing within the business. We're gonna have to look at 21 later. I just remembered that it was Akebono and the Big Show on that one.
Oh my Lord.
Just kind of looking at, kind of a self-made person. People give Cena a lot of crap because of, him being a company guy. But there's honestly nothing wrong with that. And you say it all the time on here, get your money.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a fan of John Cena, but with that being said, he does, I wouldn't say he performs in the ring, but I would say when there's a big fight feel, he does rise to the occasion. And again, John, we can, people, us included, the show, and everybody can get on all you want, and that's fair. But he does have something. He does have it. And that's whether you're booing him or you're cheering him. Like, he has something. So, I mean, I don't think you can knock him for that.
Yeah. And and he definitely has that charisma. I think that you need to be in professional wrestling. But more so to this match, it was a fine match. The thing about Cena is that he's a safe worker.
Yep.
You could put him in the ring with anyone, and he would probably make him look good, and everybody's gonna get out safe and sound. This was definitely kind of an underwhelming opener, I think, considering what would lead WrestleMania in the years to come, and to be Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
But the Big Show looked really good in this match, surprisingly good. He pulled out a Cobra Clutch at one point, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's in our repertoire. Got it. He did kick out of an FU at one point. I liked it though. It kind of made sense for how they were booking him at the time. But the finish does come. Cena gets him with the brass knucks. It's a second FU, hits and then gets his win, his first championship in WWE.
He's popped.
The crowd was hot for this.
Yeah.
And can't really blame them. What did you what did you have this match at?
I gave this about 3 stars.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good. And again, the new wrestling fan now, I mean, it doesn't have to be a 5-star match in this sense. Like, it had everything. You had the ups and downs. It had the great storytelling. It had the highs and the lows. It was good. And for the most part, the guy that people wanted to go win over went over. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that when it's done correctly. And this was done correctly.
Yeah. I had it at 2.5 stars out of 5. Nothing wrong with this match. Nothing flashy though. It was just there. But like you said, nobody looked bad. It was just, I think it was just misplaced. There's a match we'll get to here in a little bit that I think maybe would have been better for the match, for like the card flow.
Yeah.
But there was nothing wrong with leading this off first, considering how the crowd popped.
And also, this, unlike the ones here recently, maybe this is just me, but the intro and all of the pageantry of this WrestleMania, it just seemed way more big time than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like WrestleMania is coming up next weekend, and like, we're gonna watch it, but I don't know. Even watching this one, just the intro, before I even could remember what was even on the mat. Well, I guess through the video packages,
Mm-hmm.
It just made you feel like, damn, man, this is WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania, and now I feel like it's kind of, and maybe that's because of pay-per-view, as well. But I don't know. It just didn't. It's just lackluster. It doesn't have that shine like it used to me.
Agreed. Yeah. So next match is a fatal 4-way for the World Tag Team Championships. We have the team of Booker T and Rob Van Dam defending against Garrison Cade and Mark Jindrak. La Resistance, which is Rene Dupree and Rob Conway, and then the Dudley Boys, Bubba and Devon. You can go ahead and start. What were your thoughts on this?
One I hadn't seen or thought or heard about La Resistance in a long time. Yeah, I heard it's been so long. I forgot that they were like a bootleg Bruges. You know what I mean? Um, I didn't think it was terrible. I enjoyed it. I think to me, Booker T shined a little bit to me. Um, it wasn't the greatest thing. I mean, I think I think you got your hands tied behind your back when you have four-way fatal uh, a four-way fatal tag team match. I mean, that's a lot to get or do. I probably would have put that maybe in the opener. Um, I don't know. With more energy and a lot going on, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, again, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, I think again they were doomed from the start there with this idea.
Yeah. My first note here is that they introduce it as a sudden death match, which I loved.
Yeah.
I popped and immediately I just saw sparklers going off. Also, we have to talk about this Rob Van Dam and Booker T theme like mashup. It was really weird, but it was weird in one of those like, yeah, it happened, but they won't be around for too long. The theme is awful. Again, not a great match. It was there to be there. It felt like a filler match. The crowd really wasn't into it. But I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. Just
Yeah.
it seems like something was missing, and the crowd didn't help any unless it was something being done by either Booker T or Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like I said, they shined, but I think everybody else was just. And another thing too is, as marks and fans, we have to understand, come WrestleMania, especially back in this time when you're talking pre-network and different type of contracts, guys are just trying to get on the show, and they're trying to get people on the show in any way, any way you can. So there's also that, going on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next match, Chris Jericho versus Christian. I did a lot of looking back for this match. I forgot that this was essentially one of the hotter storylines at the time.
Apparently.
Yeah. Centered around Trish Stratus, which is crazy to think that Chris Jericho and Christian in 2004 are involved in a feud centered around Trish Stratus.
Well, it's possible they can be in a feud here in 2021 as well.
Very much so. I loved this match, start to finish. It was. Go ahead and start because there's so many things to go through.
Go ahead. You got
it. These two told a story that I don't think anybody could have with this storyline. I think, and I have it in big bold caps. Jericho at one point counters a Texas cloverleaf into the walls, and I popped super hard.
This match is, how do I say this? It's two professional wrestlers, obviously, but it's not. I mean, it had a little bit of everything, and I think there's something to be said on two guys that can do spots, but run the gambit of spots of like, let's have this, let's have this, let's have this, let's have this, let's have everything of this. Let's open the cupboard and take all these ingredients and put them all together, and then you have a great match. Without hammering one into your head, all night long, like it's going to be this type of match or that type of match. It was a really, really damn good match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the thing that was very noticeable to me was that Jericho's very aggressive in this match. And they mentioned on commentary a couple times just being with Trish Stratus and the kind of change in how he's been wrestling. But there's one point, and it came during that same cloverleaf spot into the walls. Um, Christian gets the ropes, he crawls outside, but Jericho is so angry that he doesn't break the hold until he has to. It's such a great combination of professional wrestling, storytelling, character work. Just there's not enough great things to say about this. And then we get the finish, which kind of it seemed very anticlimactic to me. But given the terms of the storyline, it was okay.
Yeah. We also need to understand too, in the year of 2021, unfortunately, like there was a time, a lot of kids probably can't remember it now, but there was a time when WWE used to be good.
Very.
They used to have good storylines, good matches, good everything. And we're just so far removed from it, unfortunately. But yeah, I know people may listen to this and think like, man, like, they get on WWE. Yeah, we do. But again, there was a time in this world where this was the show and it was everything you wanted.
Yeah. So the finish, Trish comes to ringside. Christian throws her down. Jericho goes to check on her, gets an accidental elbow.
Yeah.
Christian rolls him up. I'm gonna be honest with you. The finish took me out of it. Up to that point, I was at 4.5 stars out of 5. Everything about this was beautiful in just such the best way. And
I
then
gave it
I actually
4.
bumped it down to 4 because of the finish. It just rubbed me the wrong way, considering what they had done in this match. And I get it in earlier WrestleManias, like they would build feuds to end at Mania. And there was just something about this that just didn't rub me the right way.
Yeah, we're the same person. I bumped it down and gave it a 4 as well. It's just to blow off of a feud that way was, I mean, maybe we need to go back because I'm sure it ended there. Because if it didn't end there, then maybe okay. But I feel like everything should have been sewed up right then and there, and to end it that way was a mistake.
Well, I will tell you the next month at Backlash, because I'm doing Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack for Alvarez versus Meltzer. It ends up being a handicap match between Christian and Trish Stratus versus Chris Jericho.
Okay.
So it does not end. And that's kind of my other thing is like, if that's going to be the turn, you're going to have another match, that's fine. But the finish, what they had put into it, just wasn't my cup of tea there. So I'm going to jump back and correct myself because I did say that this was the first WrestleMania without the bigger names like Stone Cold and Hogan and Rock. What I meant with that was that as a full-time guy.
Yeah.
Because this next match, it's Evolution in a handicap match against the Rock and Sock Connection, Mick Foley and The Rock. Obviously, the 3 members of Evolution do not include Triple H as he's in the main event. But hard to imagine, this was Mick Foley's first wrestling match in 4 years.
It's wild because he's always been one of those guys that kind of never stopped working. You know what I mean? If he just kind of always worked or bounced around here, bounced around there, even when he was in WWE. So yeah, it's wild to think about.
Yeah. I thought this was an entertaining match. I really did.
I did as well. It's proof to me that Ric Flair is amazing. I mean, he is the greatest wrestler of all time. Yeah. And if you're thinking he just does the same stuff and he can't wrestle, then you don't get it. Then I'm actually not talking to you. Don't even worry about what I just said then. Ric Flair is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I mean, his stuff, I mean, because he's got to be here, Codd. He's got to be 50 something.
Oh.
2004.
Yeah. So
Like, I mean, he has to be. He's got to be almost.
Right now he's 72. So 72 minus 17, we're looking at 55 years old.
Yeah, he's almost 60, and he looks good. Like you still see the muscle deficit. I mean, he can still go, and I mean, go in the Ric Flair way. But I mean, you don't watch that and think like, man, this guy's an old man. Okay, yeah, but you don't watch that thinking like, oh, poor Rick. Like, no, I mean, that came later. I mean, but that comes for everybody. But I mean, he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing.
Well, think about it as well. To this point, he's a 32-year veteran. His debut match was in 72. But even then to 2004, you're looking at 32 years, and he looks like that.
Yes, like it and the bumps that he's taken. It's I didn't mean to turn this into a Ric Flair. I don't know, but that when I was watching this match, obviously everybody else can wrestle. You know that. And again, like you said, this was. I wouldn't say this was passing of the torch. I wouldn't. That's a stretch, but this was your next top guys for the run. Even Rock was on his way out. Just to some extent.
He was already in Hollywood, and I think that's the big thing for me is that right after last year's Mania, the next night on Raw is when he started his feud with Goldberg, and then after that he went and filmed Walking Tall.
And like you said, you got Stone Cold being a referee, you got Rock in a tag team match.
Yeah.
And Triple H's headlining the show. Imagine that, but
no, I enjoyed this match. Everybody got their spots in. There was a hot tag towards the back end of the match, and it was Flair and Rock, and you almost sit there and think like through the whole Invasion storyline, and even afterwards, sitting here now, we couldn't get Rock and Flair in a feud.
I mean, it's easy to say that now, and you're probably right.
Yeah,
but you just look at how all the cards kind of fell in line, and where not where, but I guess they could have put it in here, but you're right. You're right. That would have been one for the ages.
Listen, and the reason I say that is because we get Flair that does the people's elbow, and he struts. And I get an elbow like this is Ric Flair to a T. Like nobody else can do that.
No, yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's Ric Flair. It's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I don't.
But the finish is Foley goes to pull out Mr. Sacco, walks right into an RKO. Randy Orton gets the pin. That feud as well. There's so many stories in this thing. Gosh, building up from building up from even before the Rumble. But the thing I remember the most about that Rumble was other than and they don't mention Chris Benoit winning the whole thing anymore, but in the Rumble itself, somebody takes out Test in the back, and you don't see Foley at first, but all you see is Stone Cold, and he's like, "You just took out my number 17."
Yeah.
Now you're number 17. Like, let's reward the guy that just jumps on.
Always.
And then you just hear the first opening of Mick Foley's theme, and it's that car crash, and that
Mm-hmm.
whole arena comes unfreaking glued.
Yeah.
Comes out, and just starts putting in the work to Orton, and then Cactus Clothesline. They're both out. And then like I already said, you can catch Alvarez versus Meltzer here in a couple weeks. I will be reviewing Randy Orton versus it would be Cactus Jack in a hardcore match, and that was kind of a defining moment for Randy Orton.
Also, Randy Orton. I mean, here he's great, but you can still kind of tell, like when he was on the stick a little bit, he wasn't green, but you could tell he wasn't at the height of his Randy. He was still a little baby boy Orton. He wasn't at the height. He's still great, but he wasn't at the height of his. It was weird, not weird, but you just forget things like that when you go back and you watch some of these things. Again, there's nothing wrong, like we always say with wrestlers. You don't have to be the best in the beginning, but there's nothing wrong with taking baby steps to get where you need to go. So it was cool seeing Randy Orton just a little bit younger than he, and greener than he, a seasoned veteran anyway he is now.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars out of 5. It was good for what it was. I can't get it any higher. Just it ran a minute or two long for me personally, but nothing wrong with it at all. What did you have?
I had 3.
Mm-hmm. Next match, Playboy evening gown match. So this is the team of Miss Jackie and Stacy Keibler taking on Tori Wilson and Sable. This was a start of a trend, and I had to look forward a little bit to where women who were in Playboy got on the WrestleMania card.
Yes.
So crazy to think about that.
Unfortunately, this is part of the 2000s.
Yeah. I'm not investing any time into this.
No, we tread lightly on this before we get canceled, or you know what I'm saying. It was there. Take it for what you will. Yeah.
Well, I'm giving it a grade. It's a 0 star for me.
Yeah.
The finish is Tori rolls up Jackie. That's all. That's all you need to know about this. If you're a teenage boy, then you were all about this. But if you're not and you're a purist, then it was what it was. You recognize it for what it was and you move on.
Yep.
All right. My favorite match stipulation, or one of them, it is the Cruiserweight Open for the Cruiserweight Championship. So you have 2 men that start the match. Whoever gets pinned or submitted, they're out. The next person comes in, and so it's kind of like a gauntlet style match, but they're all at ringside, and you don't really know who's coming next. Whereas in today's professional wrestling, if you have a gauntlet match of any kind, like, oh, well, have a match. If you win, you're going to be the last person to come out. Just like they did on NXT last week, where they had a battle royal to determine the order in which the gauntlet match was. And I think, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think you have to have a little bit of intrigue to it. And I think this was the perfect avenue for all the cruiserweights to get their spots in, because there was an interview that Rey Mysterio did a couple of months ago, and it was that he didn't get pushed during this time because of his size. And I'm like, Vince McMahon not pushing you for your size.
Yeah, well, we were still in this era. I mean, this was still big guy era, and it by a lot. Like, because we'll get into it later, but even like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit were smaller guys.
Yeah.
They weren't even. big guys, compared. And Eddie was jacked, Benoit was jacked, but they didn't look like Batista or Cena. So
yeah. So the challengers, you have Akio, who would go on to be Jimmy Wang Yang. You had
sorry.
You had Billy Kidman, Funaki, Jamie Noble, Nunzio, Rey Mysterio, Shannon Moore, Tajiri, and the Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah, this was a who's who of cruiserweights.
Yeah.
And this is what I always say about these pay-per-views. You go back and you forget these time periods, and you look again how like certain wrestlers cross over. You know what I'm saying? Their careers, like overlap, and you just have all these guys in this ring. It's wild. Like if I told you, hey, Tajiri, Jamie Noble, Nunzio, and Ultimate Dragon in a ring, you're like, well, at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
You just forget these things.
Yeah. And then the champion defending is Chavo Guerrero. And he's with Chavo Classic, Chavo Guerrero Sr. He has been by his side since his feud with Eddie, which I think has been a nice touch for him, just to get some extra heel heat.
Yeah.
So don't mind if I do. I'm going to breeze right through this to get to the last two. Start off with Ultimo Dragon and Shannon Moore. Shannon Moore gets eliminated. Jamie Noble comes in, eliminates Ultimo Dragon, then Funaki, then Nunzio. And then Billy Kidman comes in, eliminates Jamie Noble. Rey Mysterio comes in, eliminates Kidman. Nice tie into our last show when they were when they won their tag match. And then Mysterio beats to Tajiri and then Akio. And then it leaves us down to our final two, which is Chavo Guerrero, Champion's Advantage, coming in last, and Rey Mysterio. Chavo goes to pin Rey. Chavo Classic holds Rey Mysterio's legs down. Nice heel move, gets the win. I'm very interested to ask what you graded this at.
So I think the way when I first saw this, I was like, oh well, I need Ultimate Dragon to win because that's just me being selfish. But the way I think this was done or booked, as in who went out, when, where, and who put who out, I thought this was done pretty good. What do you think, Codd?
I love this style of match. I can see how people would be really upset about just the length of the matches.
Yeah.
But you got to think about it. This match went, the whole thing start to finish was 11 and a half minutes. So you find me time out of other matches that went over 10 minutes to take away from those to give more time to this. So you're looking at Christian and Jericho that went 15 minutes. You can take a minute or two from the Evolution match, but it was.
You could take them. You could have took a minute from everything, or and it put you where you needed to be.
Yeah, but then you're taking, you're taking stuff from them, and the other matches, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, and then the triple threat main event match. You're not taking any time away from them.
No, and you shouldn't.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I mean, I enjoyed this. I gave it 3 stars out of 5. I am one of those people. I want more, but I understand I can't have it. Whereas people praise the gauntlet match that got Kofi his WrestleMania match 2 years ago. In that light, I want more, but I mean, these guys doing what they did, and it's not like they're looking like schmucks either.
No, I agree.
They're getting caught with small cradles and roll ups and submissions. So there's nothing wrong with what they're doing.
No,
but I enjoyed it. So
I did as well.
all right. Let's get to this. All right. Special guest referee is Stone Cold Steve Austin between the matchup that everybody has been wanting for so long. It is Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. What do you remember about the build to this?
I remember this being the two biggest titans ever, if you will, to some extent. Again, let their record be known and shown that I do not like Goldberg. I never have. I didn't like him in WCW. He's the Drex. He's the drizzling shits. I do not like him. But there are a lot of people that do. So this was, again, I'm not going to knock anybody for getting money. I'm not going to knock anybody for making money. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg it sells. Hell, if you go back 2-3 years ago, it still sells for whatever reason. But I remember this being booked as, and what in the world? Two titans clashing, two worlds colliding, if you will. This is big money draw. Not for me, but big money draw.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip to the Rumble because that's kind of where everything kind of really started. This was the infamous show where Goldberg put a wig, or no, Goldust put a wig on Goldberg. This is kind of where you knew that this was not the same Goldberg from WCW. He was like, "Oh, I'm flattered, but if you don't get out of my locker room, I'm going to kick your ass." Like, what? Like this is not the WCW Goldberg where, if we're booking him like he was in WCW, he would have just speared the crap out of him right then and there, or given him a right hand or something.
See, I enjoyed this because I didn't like Goldberg, and some of this was, well, a lot of it was WWE booking him. But again, I think when he came to the WWE roster, and you got guys like Eddie, and you got guys like Angle, and all these guys, you realize that he was just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was he tough? Yeah. Could he probably beat you up in a fight? Sure. But that'll make you a good wrestler. So I enjoyed some of this because he came, he was booked as, WCW's Golden Goose, which he was, and he comes to WWE and he just looks like a guy because he can't wrestle and he can't do promos and he can't do just about anything. I'm sorry for turning this into my own little personal rant here, but continue, Codd. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. And that's and that was funny, and I didn't mind it. But like, we're trying to book him two different ways here. Like, trying to book comedic fodder at one point, and then the next minute we're trying to book him like a badass. I just don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at the Rumble, they have a little altercation in the back. Lesnar, who at the Rumble defended and won his match against Hardcore Holly. Tell me you forgot that he got a world championship shot in 2004.
I absolutely did.
Well, that I'm gonna go on my own small tangent, but that even started from when Brock Lesnar I would say botched a power bomb, because he's done that spot very frequently throughout his run. But Holly landed on his neck really weird, put him out of action for a while and came back, and here we go. You get a championship match. Thankfully, it was only like 6 minutes.
This is also younger kids and younger people. This is actually prime wrestling Brock Lesnar. There was a time in this world where Brock Lesnar was a really, really good wrestler.
Yeah.
Before he came, like prize fight, money mark, Kumite wrestler, which is fine. I mean, I dig that too. Listen, people can say whatever you want about Brock Lesnar. He draws, and people still want to see him. And when he steps to the ropes, he means business. So it may just be a real shoot. You don't know.
Yeah. So in the Rumble match itself, Lesnar hits Goldberg with an F5. Goldberg then gets eliminated by Kurt Angle as he's staring down Lesnar. So then you have who at this point is the sheriff. Stone Cold gives Goldberg a ticket to the SmackDown branded No Way Out. Gives him a front row ticket. You have a whole pomp and circumstance getting him to ringside. And then in the match, Goldberg hits Lesnar with a spear, hits a jackhammer. Eddie Guerrero hits the frog splash, wins his world championship. I've covered that on Quick Count. Then we get Lesnar, who not upset that he lost his championship and wants his rematch, but at Goldberg. So you get this infamous promo. He's in the middle of the ring. He said, "Book it. I want Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg." And it's so comical to me because you just lost your world championship. Okay. You don't want that, but yet you want to go after Goldberg, who caught you. I get that to a point.
That's what the writers told him to say. Cut him slack.
I get that to a point, and I know I'm going to get crap for that, but you built him up as this dominant champion. This is what life is. This is what I want, and then you lose, and you immediately redirect.
Yeah, this was a pre sign pointing too. It was also that like that wouldn't come until later. Thank gosh.
Yeah. So about a month before, we get Vince who names Austin the special guest ref. Between the match, he books it, and then we get a little brief spat between Lesnar and Austin, which went nowhere. So back when Goldberg first signed, and this was now a year ago, he had signed a 1-year contract, which was very odd for WWE, but obviously Vince wanted the money. He wanted Goldberg, so he made it work. So that contract was expiring on the night after Mania, essentially. And so the week before Mania is when the rumors leaked that Brock Lesnar was leaving WWE to attend a tryout with the Minnesota Vikings. So now you have Goldberg, essentially, who is not re-signed, going into his last WWE match, versus somebody who is actively trying to be a star in the NFL, making millions. So,
and people have to understand too, this is before like big money. WWE was the only game in town, and a lot of people there wasn't necessarily that big wrestler crossover. Rock kind of started all. Well, he didn't necessarily start it, but I mean, he pioneered all this, this wrestler crossover where you could start tapping into some other money. So because you're thinking like, well, why would Brock leave WWE to go play football and get beat up? Because the money wasn't the way it is now. Nowhere near.
Yeah. Now there are rumors that his deal that he turned down was massive. But even with that being said, like, that's what he wanted to do, and
that's Brock. I mean, that's Brock's always been that way, though.
Yeah. So what we got was Lesnar trying to protect himself and Goldberg not giving a damn.
Yep.
And the only thing that kept this thing entertaining, leading into the finish was the crowd and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
This match was awful. It was an abomination. I've got to watch Brock Lesnar, a legit tough guy, wrestle Goldberg, who's not a tough guy, with a Stone Cold, who is probably going to end up beating all of them. How much like nostalgia / testosterone can we pack in one ring, and muscles and baldness, like all in one ring? It was bad. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
I get money grabs, but man, this one was I don't know.
Yeah. There are matches that, after Brock came back where you're like, wow, he just really doesn't care and he's throwing guys around. And listen, if you had any thought of Brock Lesnar's matches since his return in 2014, somewhere in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Since his return, if there's a match you've watched where you said Brock couldn't give less of a damn, go back and watch this.
No, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Goldberg does win. He hits the jackhammer. Awful, garbage, total waste of time. I truly believe that the crowd would have been a touch more invested if they wouldn't have learned that, both men were going to leave the company. You get boring chants. This match sucks. They start doing the na 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 na, that whole song and dance. I don't want to get us kicked off of YouTube. But I truly feel like if it didn't leak that Brock was going to the NFL, I still think that the crowd would have still been a little bit more invested. But we didn't get that. I'm giving it 0 stars. I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah.
This was booked. This was booked better 13 years later than it was here.
Yeah. I agree. This is 0 stars. I almost didn't want to watch it because, like, once I started watching, I was like, oh man, I remember how this goes.
Yep.
Yeah, and it sucks because again, you actually do have Lesnar stuff with Eddie, Lesnar stuff with Angle. Like, you have this prime Lesnar right here who, in hindsight, wouldn't wrestle like this anymore because he didn't need to. But again, it shows you he wasn't going to have that match with Goldberg because Goldberg is terrible. And this is what they get for trying to force things on people and force this spectacle, and it wasn't organic. So,
yeah, and it's everything you said, and obviously, what we would get at Survivor Series 2016, and then moving forward from there would be a lot better. And it's funny to think about it. There are 3 matches that they had. Survivor Series. Oh fudge! I can't remember the one in the middle. But then they had their 3rd match at Mania.
Yeah.
Those matches combined were still shorter than this. Like,
okay, they learned their lessons.
Yeah, which is crazy to think that in 2016, 2017 WWE, Vince is learning lessons. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
But yeah, we all know the stories though. Now we would get the trio of matches that they had. It would put the title back on Brock Lesnar after Goldberg beat Kevin Owens for the title in mere seconds, which infuriated everyone, including Jeff Hall, which means I'm going to move on from this. Fatal 4-way match for the other tag team championships, the WWE titles. It would be Too Cool, the combination of Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty defending against the APA, which is Bradshaw and Farouk. The Bashams, Doug and Danny, and Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, the world's greatest tag team.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this short. It was the same match as earlier.
It was, again, you got 4 teams hamstrung by time, I'm sure, and trying to get everything their stuff in. The Bashams were really good and really kind of underrated. They were like OVW originals, but again, this was again, you got 4 tag teams trying to get all their stuff in on a show that's absolutely packed full of stuff and time. So
yeah,
you know.
I'm giving it a star and a half, just like I did the other one.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, people cared about Too Cool. The highlights were Haas and Benjamin, of course. But again, just felt like a filler match. To get to the hair versus championship match, Victoria putting the women's championship on the line against Molly Holly, who is putting her hair on the line.
If I could jump in real quick, as she's walking down the ramp, I assume you saw this, Codd. A fan had a sign, and it was like her hair, like it was her. If not, you need to go back and watch this. It was like, her upper torso on the sign, and and he had her hair was like on her head, but it was cut out, and like as he was moving the sign up and down, her hair was like coming off of her head.
Golly,
it got me so bad.
This seemed like it wanted to be so much more as far as the match goes.
It looked like they didn't have time.
Exactly.
Or something not something happened. We know what happened, but yeah, they didn't have enough time to do what they wanted to do, because Victoria and Molly Holly are really, really good wrestlers in a sea of divas, if you will.
But, well, insert clip from Playboy evening gown match from an hour ago on the same.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it back in my memory card.
Yeah, yeah, it seemed like this is a match that you would maybe see on Raw. And like you said, it seems like they just didn't have time. Jerry Lawler in this match is just awful.
Yeah.
He constantly makes comments about Molly's granny panties and doesn't comment on the match, and I couldn't stand it for my life.
Well, it's just this time period in the world, and this time period in wrestling, and it's just, again, I love Jerry Lawler, the commentator at sometimes, and I also love Jerry Lawler, the King of Memphis. His wrestling track record is nothing to scoff at either. Yeah. But yeah, you could tell he just has full reign to do whatever the hell he wants whenever the hell he feels like it. You can tell.
Yeah. Molly goes for Victoria's finisher, the Widow's Peak. Victoria counters it into a backslide and wins. I have this 1.5 stars out of 5. This was a disappointment for me. I was really looking forward to this because I had forgotten about it. And then to see that commentary didn't care. Honestly, the fans didn't care. And
because they weren't half naked, unfortunately.
Yeah. Again, like you said, a different time in women's wrestling.
It sucks for Victoria too, because I think you might have said this in a text queue. She's another woman who was not born, but stuck in the wrong era of wrestling, because if she came now, and again, I think Codd said this, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but like if she came now, I mean, she would be amazing. And I think it just sucks for some of these wrestlers. You can't help when you're born or your life or whatever, but yeah, she was a shining light in some of this stuff.
Agreed. So we get our first of 2 world championship matches. This one is for the WWE Championship. Eddie Guerrero defending against Kurt Angle. This is as pure as it gets, so I will let you take this one.
This is When I lay in my bed at night and I think, man, like God, I'd love to see a nice little wrestling match. I close my eyes and I dream of things like this. Um, this is purity at its finest. This is two guys that understand professional wrestling and understand wrestling. You have the selling, you have the catch can wrestling, you have emotion tied up in this, you have you have everything you could ever want. And I've been saying this for a long time. Obviously everybody knows Eddie Guerrero's track record and his family and the Guerreros in general, but I don't think people understand how good Kurt Angle is and was. I know toward the end there he kind of became funny, and that's a testament to how good Kurt Angle is. But if you want to talk about, I would say I would put him probably as one of the best, not free agents, but guys to kind of cross over and get into wrestling, like professional wrestling, like later in life. I mean, he may be the best because his in-ring work is the best because he's a collegiate wrestler, well, a collegiate wrestler, and Olympian, but also having it and making people laugh and having everything on the mic. I mean, he may be the best crossover, non like original wrestler. I don't want you get what I'm saying, right, Codd? Like not original wrestler, but a guy to give it a whirl. Hey, I'll give professional wrestling a whirl.
Yeah, Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care.
No, it's great. This is a 5-star match to me. This is the best match on the card, and it's matches like this that I don't understand. And I guess you can judge on when it came, but I gotta watch. And I'm gonna rant. I gotta watch a random match on Dynamite, which is fine, be a 5-star match. But then you go back and you look at this, and it's like, oh, well, it's 4.75, Jeff. Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. He's just a sexy Kurt, and he'll make your ankle hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and the crowd's into this. When Eddie goes to the top rope to do his frog splash, and think of this now, not so much here recently because of COVID, so that's fair. But he gets on the top rope. As he gets on the top rope, I mean, you just see everybody just stands up out of their seat to, what I'm saying, just to look and see. And that's when you have stuff like that. That's a proper wrestling match. That's storytelling. That's fans hot for this thing. And then it's absolutely great. Angle barely pops at 2. The roof goes off of this place. It's just a beautiful wrestling match. Go ahead. I've said enough. Sorry.
Yeah. So Kurt Angle gets this shot because he at No Way Out he beat The Big Show and John Cena in a triple threat match. Obviously, we touched on Guerrero defeating Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Angle at this point, surprisingly, was kind of a face.
Yeah.
He was the special guest referee in a WWE title match between Eddie and Chavo. Eddie goes to make the 3 count and turns on him. Starts this whole thing where he says that Eddie Guerrero is a former drug addict who doesn't deserve to represent the WWE Championship and what it stands for. Guerrero assaults Kurt Angle and gets arrested. It's always funny to me going back to rewatch things like this to where we can have backstage brawls, all that nonsense, and then the one time you want to bring the police and handcuffs in. It's, just like simple assault, like something we don't normally do on a week-to-week basis.
Well, it makes you, like 1 week, you can beat somebody up to death at a bloody pulp, in the stands, and the next week you punch somebody and the proper authority are coming to take you out of here.
Yeah. So Eddie slips out of his boot to lock Angle in an inside cradle and win. This is Eddie's gimmick. He is the best to ever do it. He is, other people have done it since then as like tributes. Nobody does it better than Eddie. Okay, nobody will ever do this gimmick better than him. There's only one person that could have done it, and it's him. You are absolutely right. This is a 5-star match for me, as opposed to Dave Meltzer's 4-star rating.
Yeah, and I don't want to get on a rant on this, but again, Dave Meltzer was a guy that I stood behind, and we were in lockstep. And now he's flip flopped. And again, I understand maybe times are changing and have changed, and I need to change, and I understand that. But man, you go back and you look at this match, you're like, oh, this is a 4-star match.
Yeah,
right.
Now, a couple things though with that, we don't know when he reviewed it. Also, I don't have that information.
I don't want to hear it. Dave Meltzer doesn't miss anything. He's a guy, I guarantee you he watched this live, or he at least watched it within a week of it. There's no way. Yeah.
Well, you have Ryan Alvarez to thank, because he's challenging Dave Meltzer on all of his star ratings in the new PWO show, Alvarez versus Meltzer. You can find daily on YouTube.
There we go.
This is a 5-star match. There is nothing wrong with this at all.
No. And then Angle gets rolled up, gets up, throws the boot out there, and says, "This is bullshit." You know what I'm saying? And he looks. It didn't look like he wasn't acting. You know what I mean? It didn't look like, oh, this is the part where I act like I'm mad at you. No, it was so legit. It was so good.
Yeah. And this is this isn't taking anything away from the main event. He gave it 4.75 out of 5 stars. Spoiler alert, this is the match of the night.
So the main event got 4.75.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it did. I'll see. God damn it.
Yeah. So in our semi-main event here, we have Kane versus who we think we're gonna see as the Undertaker. So this has kind of been long going. So the backstory of this, at Survivor Series 2003, it was the Undertaker, very much in his biker gimmick, very much overweight, taking on Vince McMahon. Kane interfered, helped Vince McMahon win the match, bury the Undertaker. This gave him some much needed time off to slim back down. So you had Kane playing all of this up, eulogy, on the next episode of SmackDown. Undertaker's no longer my brother. He died a long time ago.
I think you mean his brother.
His brother. So at the Royal Rumble, and I keep referencing the Royal Rumble because this is how you build the road to WrestleMania. You start at the Rumble and you build storyline from there.
Yep.
So Kane's in the Rumble. Out. It's supposed to be Spike Dudley, but you hear the Undertaker's gong hit. Kane's staring up the rampway. He's stunned. Booker T eliminates him. Obviously, Spike comes out. Kane destroys him. One of those he never got in the ring Rumble moments. So over the course of the next handful of weeks, you would get small hints that it was going to be the Undertaker versus Kane at Mania. And one of the coolest, I think, visual images is, he says, is that Kane says, the Undertaker's 11-0 WrestleMania streak and his life are coming to an end. And he says, it's back to the grave for you for good. And then, hold on. He says he's not afraid. The lights go out. And this is on an episode of SmackDown. I don't know how they did this, but they get the ring to look like it's off the ground and moving, and just a fantastic way to build this match to the return of the Undertaker that we haven't seen in 4+ months. But this is also, I'm going to mark out here, this is the best Undertaker entrance. Some people prefer different variations of the Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the Dead Man Taker, this is the best entrance he's ever done.
It's a good one.
Now, obviously, Undertaker's legacy has been a little tarnished, in my opinion, over the last handful of years with his one-offs at Mania and Do What You Will. I think he recovered a little bit with his cinematic match with AJ from last year, but this moment, I think, was outstanding. I think the match, kind of not good.
I didn't like this match at all. And it's weird, and a hot take here: Kane's a better big man than the Undertaker. I've been on that for years. Kane is a better wrestler than the Undertaker. And it's weird because you go back and you classify and quantify all their matches, and they've had great ones, but this one just wasn't it. So I think this was just a time of where their their paths crossed, and they were just not together. I don't know. What would you think, Codd? It just wasn't. It just didn't mesh for me. It just looked like two guys.
Yeah,
phoning it in. And again, I'm not accusing the Undertaker or any of them of not giving their all, but like it just didn't look like their matches usually look.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm not defending this because I also believe that it was not a great match. I actually have it 1.5 stars out of 5. The match is a 1 star, and then just the moment overall will bump it to a 1.5 stars. But just, it was all about the Undertaker here. And I think it takes 2 to tango whenever you're wrestling someone. And, sometimes the overall goal is missed. I think you're focusing on one person and not the match as a whole. There were some old tropes that they've done in their matches. Kane pulling the Undertaker off while he's trying to do old school. It kind of made you, maybe he's more human, or it added a little bit of intrigue.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this is not nearly close to one of their better matches that they've had. I'm looking at their Inferno match this week on Alvarez versus Meltzer, which I'm very excited for, because I remember the old one and Vader got involved, and anyway. But like I said, the moment really awesome. The match as a whole, not good. They've had better. They each individually have had better. But yeah, I've got it 1.5 star. I really can't push it higher than that.
I gave it a 1. It just,
that's fair.
You can't win them all, and they just missed on this one.
Yeah, it's very, very kind of the break, I think, between the 2 championship matches, which if you're looking at this card as a whole, you're like, wow, they're going to hit you with, hit you with this, and then the main event. But as far as pacing for this, I thought it was very well done, leading to the main event. So here we go. World Heavyweight Championship match. Triple H defending against Chris Benoit and HBK Shawn Michaels. I also thought this was really freaking good.
As much as Triple H and Sean Hickenbach stick in my crawl, this was a really good match. This was, to me, all 3 guys can work. this was a triple threat in an older style where you have one of the other guys, the third guy down and hurt, but not forever. We don't see him like sitting by the apron looking for his time to run into the mat, to run into this spot. You know what I mean? This was really, really good. It was done well. Obviously, HBK and Chris Benoit are your workers. They're obviously better wrestlers than Triple H. But man, Triple H was so good in this spot where he was kind of the glue in between. He was the workhorse in between the two. Sometimes you can literally physically see him banging, you know what I'm saying, from corner to corner, to buckle, from guy to guy. You know, he kind of was that glue middle piece for a little bit. And again, I mean, I get on Triple H a lot, and that's fair. But what he lacks in his wrestling acumen. Well, I mean, he doesn't lack. He's just not a guy. He's not Shawn Michaels, and he isn't Chris Benoit, but he's a damn good wrestler, and he is the cerebral assassin, and he understands this business and how to work and do these things. Can he be a lot and be himself and bury people? Then yes. And put himself over? Yes. But this match is absolutely great. It's great in totality. And I mean, Shawn Michaels, what he does speaks for himself. It has everything you want. It's a great match. I mean, to me, this is a 5-star match as well. I don't want to hear 4.75. This was a 5-star match, just like the last match was a 5-star match.
You're gonna get really upset with me.
Uh-oh.
I have it 4.5 stars out of 5, and here's why. This was almost as good as Guerrero Angle. I have seen enough Shawn Michaels versus Triple H over the last 2 years to where I don't need to see any more of it.
No, well, you're right, and that, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what I'm talking about. That these guys seem to always be in this spot, and we can save that argument for another day. And you're 100% right. And let me be clear: this match is a 5-star match to me, but it's not better than the match that was all 5-star matches ain't created equal. The match before this one is way better, but I'm saying this match is good, and it's a 5-star. But you're right. There's something to be said, because who didn't know Shawn Michaels and Triple H are putting themselves over, you know, here and in 2020 and 2019 and just about any other time they have the opportunity. But go ahead, Codd, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. And you know, there's even room for me to bump it to a 5-star because of the finish, because it's eventually what it ended up being for me. But there was too much, because there's a point where you know, Benoit gets a double suplex through you know, through a table. So we get Triple H and Shawn Michaels again for a while, and I'm like, I don't want to see this anymore, because Shawn came back in 2002. They had that SummerSlam match. They had the unsanctioned match. And then we get this feud forever. And then, you know, 3 Stages of Hell and Hell in a Cell matches that are 30 to 40 minutes long, and you watch enough of them. Yep. And, you know, and maybe this is just me who watches, you know, one match a day or a match every other day, and all of this starts to run together, and I'm like, I just don't want to see anymore.
But you're right. I mean, listen, when you're boys with Triple H and you guys run the company like you did for a long time, I mean, or you still do, this is what happens. Guys putting themselves over.
Yeah, so the action in ring, 4.5 out of 5 stars. That's just me not wanting to see any more Triple H, Shawn Michaels. The finish, Benoit has Triple H in the crossface. Triple H gets close. He gets rolled back to the middle of the ring, and there's that iconic image very up close. Crossface is locked in. Triple H is bleeding, and just the very faint taps. I thought it was outstanding. So that bumps it up to a 5-star for me as well. You know, just, you know, other than the Triple H and Shawn Michaels rehash. It was action from start to finish, great storytelling. The crowd was invested. Now, between the two, if I had to go back and watch one of them again, I would go back and watch the Guerrero and Kurt Angle match.
10 times out of 10.
So, with all of that being said, what did you give the card as a whole? Actually, before you do, hold on, because there's the iconic image. Chris Benoit's got the title. He's crying, he's got it, and then he just gets up and turns around, and there's Eddie Guerrero right there, just waiting, just a warm manly embrace as confetti's falling. And who would have thought in 2004, after Chris Benoit won a world championship at WCW, but he only had it for a day before he jumped ship. But who would have thought two smaller guys, you could argue, compared to what WWE only books to be.
Who Triple H has been on record for making fun of Chris Benoit, not making fun of him, but saying he's not and this is another tirade for another time. But, this is what I like about Triple H. So Triple H getting on Chris Benoit for being a smaller guy when his best friend Shawn Michaels. Well, let that blow your mind. CM Punk's a small guy, but Shawn Michaels isn't somehow.
Yeah, but just that shot, just the confetti's falling, they're hugging. It's just outstanding way to finish the show. So now, with all of that being said,
you go first. I need to see where I am.
So I'm going to give this 4 stars out of 5 as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the problem for me, not grading it higher, because listen, the fact that there's 2 5-star matches on the show is crazy enough. But you look at the rest of the card, and there's just it just doesn't raise it up. Jericho Christian was fun. It was outstanding. I enjoyed the handicap match, but everything else was just kind of either there or just very forgettable for me. So I would say 4 stars out of 5. If you watch this show for anything, make sure that it's Jericho Christian and the 2 world championship matches.
Okay, so I think you're right. I gave it 5 stars, and it's not necessarily, hear me out. It's not necessarily because of the whole card, but I just feel like if you have 2 5-star matches on a card, doesn't that make it 5-star card?
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Hold on. So you're telling me
Codd bringing the hammer down on me on the show.
Listen,
I don't know. Hold on. Hear me out. I didn't think it was. There was some BS on here, yes, okay, but I didn't think it was that terrible. For me, it was 2 5-star matches: the Christian and Jericho match, the Rock Evolution. And again, there was some garbage. I just feel like there was enough. I just felt like there was kind of enough top heaviness on the top end. I don't know. I think there was more good than there was bad, I guess.
I can't get over the filler world tag team matches. And the fact that there were 2 of them made it even worse. The Playboy gown match was a 0 for me, but if you don't count that.
I just didn't count that. And then for the tag matches, you're right. But they weren't bad match. If they were just, I don't know. They were obviously rushed, but I didn't think they were bad. I don't know. Yeah. So let me ask you this: so we've been doing these things so long. Are we watching these things through? We have to look at them. We just take them for what they are, or do we have to watch them and be like, oh, well, I understand what kind of what happened here? Because if you're watching them real time, going back, you don't know that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm a half there because if, if I'm looking at each match and how I graded it and then doing an average from there, that's where I'm taking into account like
oh, see, I didn't think about that. You're right.
because you're looking at Undertaker Kane, I gave a 1.5. Goldberg Brock, I gave a 0.
Yeah,
And just adding it all up, and then
I
when I
guess you're
look
right.
back at the end, I'm like, as far as significance goes, maybe I'll bump it a half star, but you're looking at other manias here. You're looking at 19, which I thought was a better show. WrestleMania X7, which I think is the best
Oh,
WrestleMania of all time.
yeah.
I'll get to that in a minute. So just looking at the grand scheme of things.
I guess you're right. It's just for me. I think it may be nostalgia because it's these two matches. It's Eddie. It's the end. It's kind of everything all rolled up into one. I guess. Yeah. So I guess 4 stars is probably accurate.
Listen, as long as it's not as bad as WrestleMania 9, I think we're gonna be okay.
Jeez, let that be erased from the history books in our minds.
Yeah. So everyone, with that being said, let us know if you've seen this card or if you've seen either the 5-star matches that we think are worthy of 5 stars. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Going to be the tiebreaker. Who's right? Who's wrong? What do you think? Jeff, where can they find you on the socials?
I'm on Twitter, Jeff M Hall 1.
Because Jeff M. Hall was taken. So check out the description box below. We've got all of our social media in there. You got your Facebook, Twitter. You can, obviously to watch this on, the YouTube. So go check out Old Referee's Discretion, Old Quick Count, Alvarez versus Meltzer. I'm very much enjoying. It gives me another avenue to kind of look at things through a different lens. Jeff Hall, you might have a new show coming on YouTube. Is that correct?
We'll see. It depends on how much I want to be irritated, but yeah, we might. It might be.
There's still open discussions. People want to see your face. That's the feedback. So
someone's got to be the bad guy, and damn it, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, we're not going to have a video this upcoming week. There's a lot of great professional wrestling out there that's going to be happening not only this week, but this upcoming weekend as well. So go watch yourself some great wrestling. If you happen to stumble into WrestleMania, you're not lost. It happens to the best of us. But next week, so it'll be the weekend of the 17th. We're going to see what your 5-star card, Jeff, really looks like, because we're going to be taking a look at WrestleMania X7. If you say it's WrestleMania 17, I know when you were born and how much life you've actually lived. So with that being said, my name is Codd Sinclair. That's Jeff the Hitman Hall. And remember, there is no great match without a good ref bump. We will see you next time.